Toradora is not just a romance anime. Hear me out. When I watched Toradora for the first time, I was immediately enthralled by the chemistry between Ryuuji and Taiga. The calm and chill Ryuuji meets the wrathful, short-tempered Taiga, and the funny dynamic makes you want to watch the next episode after the next. For me, after watching the first episode, I was pretty sure where this show was heading. It was probably another rom-com anime with cringe-worthy or exaggerated scenarios that make you laugh at all the confusing commotion going on. Although yes, that is the case, it turns out there is a lot more than that. Toradora is not only another rom-com anime. It is a character study and a deep look into what the characters are and how they connect emotionally. Your first impression of the anime after watching the first episode is just the tip of the iceberg, while there is more depth to them as the show continues. It is almost like an onion, and we are just starting to peel the layers off to find out their true identity. There is a reason why Ryuuji is the way he is. There is a reason why Taiga is the way she is. And there is a reason why Minori is the way she is. To understand the love triangle in Toradora, we have to dissect each character individually to understand why Toradora is more than just another romance anime. Let's take a look at Ryuuji. When we are introduced to him in the first episode, we are given superficial facts about him, such as his intimidating facial expressions. We know that he takes care of the house and his father is some pimp, which is why he has this intimidating look on his face inherited by his unnamed father. Because of this, he is very insecure about his face and the way people perceive him. Even though people perceive him that way, his personality is actually the polar opposite and does not correlate to the face he wears. For instance, the way he prepares breakfast for his mother and when he bumps into Taiga for the very first time starts to look after her. He would tidy up Taiga's room when he entered her apartment for the first time and invite her over for meals since she lives alone. In a way, his outer appearance may be very deceiving and does not fully represent who he truly is. Although this story starts with both characters, Taiga and Ryuuji, having a crush on each other's best friends, it is through Ryuuji's consistent aid and support that changes the course of the story. Taiga initially likes his best friend and pretty much has developed an obsessive persona throughout the show that has turned borderline creepy, but it is through significant events in the story that Taiga questions her feelings. One of the most prominent examples is when Ryuuji was knocked out in the swimming pool in episode 8. Throughout the episode, Ryuuji helps Taiga learn how to swim in order to compete with Ami, since Ryuuji is planning to go with Ami to her villa over summer break, leaving Taiga alone. Although she refused to compete, she did show up at the last minute. During the race, Taiga has a leg cramp. Ryuuji, witnessing this, immediately jumps into the water to save her. Taiga refuses his help and says she wants to win this competition for him. Before Taiga reaches the finish line, a group of boys jump into the water and knock Ryuuji out. When Ryuuji opens his eyes, he sees Taiga completely hysterical and upset over Ryuuji, screaming that Ryuuji belongs to her. The first time Ryuuji gets a glimpse of Taiga's true self, compared to the angry and short-tempered girl she disguises herself as. It is because of Ryuuji that things were beginning to change in Taiga for the very first time. The irony is that Ryuuji, despite his intimidating look, is actually a nice guy, or sometimes going beyond that for Taiga. He saw Taiga lived alone in a messy room, which gives the impression of self-neglect. Maybe the way he saw her unorganized room and the way she neglected self-care created a sense of pity and empathy subconsciously within Ryuuji, which is why he decided to go out of his way for Taiga, wanting to understand her on a deeper level and see her differently from the way most students saw her. My favorite episode is episode 19, the Christmas Eve Festival. During the festival, Taiga decided to go home early, thinking that she would spend Christmas alone this year. Ryuuji, finding this out soon after, rushed to her house and climbed through a window dressed as a Christmas teddy bear. Taiga became surprised and was suddenly liberated from the loneliness she was feeling, or she thought she was feeling, until Ryuuji appeared. It was at this moment something changed within Taiga as well. From this whole episode until now, Taiga and Ryuuji had a deal in which their partnership meant to push each other toward their crushes, which happened to be their best friends. Taiga immediately ushered Ryuuji to go and catch up with Minori, dragging him out, so Ryuuji still could get an opportunity to confess. Afterward, Taiga saw tears raining down her face. For the first time, Taiga has finally realized this change and had to confront the reality of her true feelings.
We're still having that Takasu family Christmas dinner, right? With chicken and beef!
Yeah, the chicken's not happening anymore because of Enko, remember?
Okay, fine, beef, whatever. Come on, get up, hurry! I forgot to give it back. Oh, what a pain. What the... Why am I...
We are introduced to Taiga, a very closed-off individual who is notorious for having a very bad temper, hence her nickname, Palm Top Tiger. She masks herself up as a very moody and angsty teenager, making the people around her afraid of her presence, except for Minori, her best friend of course. Taiga, who liked Ryuji's best friend, Yasaku Kitamura, developed this obsession with him ever since Yasaku confessed to Taiga a long time ago. Although Taiga did reject him for some reason, she began to develop feelings for him after the rejection. Throughout the show, it is known to us that Taiga secretly takes pictures of Yasaku and stores them. Although she rejected him, why does Taiga show these symptoms of chronic obsession with Kitamura afterward? Taiga told Ryuuji that a year ago, Yasaku confessed to Taiga that he liked him, saying that she had a straight-to-the-point personality and the fact that she did not hide her anger. Although she did reject him, she still takes and stores pictures of him, wanting to be wanted and accepted for who she is. As she looks through the photographs of him contemplatively, she wants the facial expression and the eyes that were reminiscent of the day when he confessed. The feeling of being wanted for the first time may have ignited an inexplicable feeling that has possibly not been felt by Taiga before, which is why this inexplicable feeling may be interpreted as love to Taiga. Throughout Taiga's life, she has been faced with neglect from others, especially from her father, who was supposed to hold an important place in her life. The absence of her father took a toll on her, as evidenced by her self-neglect, and was tired of being the good girl, because, at the end of the day, her father would never be beside her in the end. Regardless of how good of a girl she tries to be, she would still have to spend Christmas alone, and most of her life alone. This may explain her aggressive and ill-tempered personality, to temporarily conceal the pain that is within her. When Ryuuji came into her life, she still had feelings for Kitamura, but she did not realize how much she needed Ryuuji compared to Kitamura, who happened to just be a love interest. And on that Christmas day, something finally hit her. It was not Kitamura who was by her side this whole time, but Ryuuji. All of those feelings accumulated up until this point, which may explain why she was crying as Ryuuji left to meet up with Minori to finally confess. This whole time, the deal was to make Ryuuji and Minori go out with one another, but Taiga realized that the difference between simply just a love interest and someone that is a lot more than that made her upset. Upset by the fact that Ryuuji was not going to tend to her needs anymore, since he would be by Minori's side. She finally realized Ryuuji's value and how happy she was with him, and the fact that she was not going to experience Ryuuji's presence to the fullest if Minori and Ryuuji got together, of course making her feel regretful and upset. There is a moment of growth and maturity in Taiga as she realizes this: it's not about what I want, but what I need. Minori Kushieda is my favorite character in this anime. Maybe it is because she is very goofy in general and carries some of the humor in this anime. The goofiness and cuteness do give off a sense of immaturity and a very childlike nature to her personality when, in reality, it is quite the opposite, as she turns out to be the most mature one. What is deep within Minori's character is quite a surprise to me as, throughout the show, Minori slowly exposes her true self and is in some of the serious high-tension scenes throughout the anime. Like Taiga, the goofy and cute personality is also a cover-up to who she is. Despite how she feels, she tries to put everyone first, and tries to diffuse the situation by being humorous through her eccentric, bizarre ways. The only time we see Minori reveal her true self is when it revolves around love. To put this in perspective, Minori likes Ryuuji from the very beginning. She just didn't know how to express this to Ryuuji, and whenever she did, she would sugarcoat it by bringing up things like, "Maybe I like girls," or "Do you believe in UFOs or ghosts?"
Even though I've never actually seen him before. And get this, I don't believe any of the people who say they've seen him.
Huh.
It's kinda like how I think about the concept of love. Like, I believe one day I'll fall in love, get married, and live happily ever after, even though I've never actually fallen in love with anyone yet.
Although it sounds random and weird at first, it perfectly blends in with Minori's personality. Her goofy and funny characteristics still shine through in serious scenes, possibly too afraid of the other person's reaction if she is too direct. In that sense, you can say that Minori is very calculated in the way she expresses things to avoid hurting anyone and also to protect herself from any negative reaction. It just shows how complex she is behind all the goofiness and humor she puts on just to hide all of it. Of course, there are scenes in which she is super direct, in which she didn't even try to put on a facade to express it, such as the time when she realizes Ryuuji is setting up Taiga and her father together, without understanding their dark backstory. The other time she was direct was when she found out Ryuuji told Kitamura that he was the one who rescued her from the sledding incident and carried her to safety. It seems she becomes more direct and serious only when she tries to protect Taiga and give what is best for Taiga, her best friend. To put it in perspective, during the Christmas Eve festival episode, Minori saw Taiga chasing after Ryuuji and crying. Knowing this, she told Ryuuji that she did not want to see UFOs and ghosts anymore, a sugar-coated statement that meant she was not interested in seeing anyone or finding love. She rejected Ryuuji out of consideration for Taiga, putting Taiga's happiness first, before her own, despite the fact that she liked him. To conclude, Toradora is not only a romance anime, because it is a lot more than that. One category does not give the show its deserved respect. There is a reason why it took the show so long before Ryuuji and Taiga even got together for the first time or finally acknowledged their feelings for one another. That is because the show deviates from most conventional romance genres in the sense of not only focusing on the couples alone, but emphasizing character study, and through understanding each character, it complements and adds a dynamic to other characters. Even if romance is completely taken out of the story, it still has layers and depth to each character, defining them. All of the characters mentioned had dual characteristics. Ryuuji looks intimidating on the outside, but is kind and soft-hearted within. Taiga is aggressive and has a bad temper on the outside, but inside is vulnerable and covertly desires affection from others. Minori is funny and silly on the outside, but is mature and capable. The paradoxical qualities of these characters gives balance to them, and ultimately gives balance to the show. I highly recommend Toradora to anyone, even if they are not fans of the romance genre. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, comment your ideas below.